Okay, count us down.
Um, 10, 9, 8. Are you really gonna sit through the whole 10? No. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Welcome to the stream, everybody. No, hold on. Count me in. Count me in. Count me in.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. You're listening to the Sister City Committee podcast. This is our third or second. Who really knows, right? I'm Matthew. This is Danielle.
Danielle.
Hi, Danielle.
Yeah, it's me.
Hey, how are you?
It's been fine. We're at the end of January now. We've
We are.
watched all 4 movies,
Yeah.
and now we're trying to churn these out, which that's makes it sound like we don't wanna do it. We wanna do this.
I mean, we do want to do it, but we are literally churning them out because we had some
Mhm.
setbacks, as mentioned in the previous podcast, which we
Yeah,
will put up as the second podcast. We're not going to put it up as the third one, right? We will
yeah.
put that one up as the second podcast, just so that it goes into this one a bit more understandably. We're doing a couple today because we need to get them done, but it's not like a forceful, it's not like oh God, we have to do these. It's just sort of like we wanted
We're
to
down to
set
the wire.
deadlines. We've set deadlines
Yeah.
for ourselves. We want to stick to those deadlines. We don't want to disappoint the people. We want to start editing some shit, get it done. Um,
Well, we want February to go smoothly.
yes,
Um,
we would love for February to go smoothly, right?
and Lord fucking knows why. I think you already said this, but why did we do the romance month in January and not February? Such a missed opportunity. I'm so sorry. You
I
know
don't know
what?
if
We'll
I
just
did mention
wait.
that. Was that
I
not
think
you?
you did. No, I
Seriously?
think you did.
Oh,
Yeah, I
because
think
it's
you did.
Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
romance in February. That would make more sense, right? Yeah.
yeah, but no one said it's gonna be drugs.
Punch
Okay.
Drunk Love,
So,
as I mentioned
mhm,
a little while back, that was the second movie that we watched this month,
mhm.
but it's going to be the third podcast. Um, what is the movie about in one sentence? Hmm?
Oh,
Hit
I
me.
have to do this.
Hit me. What
Gosh,
is the movie
dang it.
about?
I didn't even think this was your job because you hadn't seen it, and I've seen it a lot. It's about a man who meets a woman and they fall in love. No, that's it's like every simple romance archetype plot ever. It's about an anxious man who meets a mysterious woman who he
I wouldn't
falls in
say
love
she's
with.
mysterious, but I agree with the first part
No,
of what you've said. It's an
I don't think
anxious man who falls in love with a woman. I don't think she's that mysterious at all. She tries to be. Tries to be. She tries to
what?
be as upfront as possible with him, but in a very polite way. You know. Like when you take
Yeah.
all of the other characters that are in this film, you've got the toxic sisters, you've got the asshole that's the on the phone with him, and then of all the people in this movie, she is the most down to earth, straightforward, polite person in this whole movie. She's understanding about every issue that he has, even though she doesn't fully understand him. I think she's not
I think
mysterious at all.
well, I think we can get into that when we talk about her, 'cause I think that for the audience, she is, and I think it's kind of mysterious as to why she would put up with some of his stuff. Not that I don't think he deserves it, but I
Because she's
think
an
it
alien. Anyway, carry on
Nah.
with the plot. Anxious man falls in love with mysterious woman
And buys a lot of pudding. He buys a lot of
and buys
pudding.
a lot of pudding. That's the plot.
And
Done.
fights
Right. Cool.
And fights Mormons. Yes,
Oh,
he
and
fights
fights
Mormons.
Mormons. Right.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
The
Anxious
end.
man falls in love with mysterious woman, buys pudding, and fights Mormons. Okay. Cool. Plot.
Yes, there you go, that's it. Um, so Mormons are the true evil in this movie. That's not good at all. Mormons who run phone sex hotlines and own mattress companies, still not great for us to be saying.
Do you know
Um,
what's crazy? We're talking about this now, today, of all times,
mhm,
right? We watched this movie 3 weeks ago now, didn't we?
not
And
too,
I
probably
did
too, yeah.
not know that. Fucking wait, where is this from? Provo, Utah, or
Yeah.
something? Because I'm not American. I don't know shit about America. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
know that this had
true.
anything to do with Mormons, and that the guy who ran the company, the mattress company, was supposed to be a Mormon, or the sex
I mean, I
worker was
don't
meant to
think
be a
so.
Mormon.
No, hold on. Okay, so I don't it's never explicitly said, I don't think. It's just that in America, when you think of Utah, you think Mormons.
All
It's
right,
just a thing. There is a lot of them there.
okay, very on topic, I guess. I once watched a porno that had a Mormon woman in it.
Oh, me too. Actually, I watched, several, maybe. Well, not the whole thing. Wait, you sat and watched a whole ass porno? I've watched, like, scenes from, like, Mormon, lesbian stuff.
No, like I'll load up a porno and I'll watch it.
From start to finish.
Yeah, from the
You
part
don't just,
where
like, go on, like,
they're in the room doing the interview or whatever, or they're in the room just having a chat.
oh, so it's not a movie.
No, it wasn't a movie. It wasn't like those cringy. Oh, I call someone up, they come over and fix something. It wasn't one of those. When I watch
See,
a
that's
porno, it's those ones
casting
where
couch.
yeah, it's like casting couch and other shit like that, and they'll sit there and they'll do like, "Oh, hi, tell us about yourself," and it's like, "Oh, I'm a Mormon or whatever. I'm fucking
Hmm.
34 or something, or what are you here to
34-year-old
do? Oh, I'm
Mormon.
here to suck some dick, sort of thing, and then they get into it. Um, Fucking upload this onto YouTube. Don't even edit
Uh,
this out. This is part of the
I'm not going
podcast.
to. This is part of it. This is I'm ready to get into a whole conversation about Mormon pornography, I think.
Okay. Right. I mean, that was the plot, right? We've done the plot. I mean, there is more to the plot. We'll dive more into the plot, but that is the plot in one sentence,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
as 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 that has been
Mm,
said by you. Um,
before we started, I guess, right? Did you like the movie? You'd never seen it. You didn't know that it had Adam Sandler, right? You
I
asked
didn't
that
know
as
that it had Adam Sandler.
as I loaded it up, you were like, "Wait, is this with Adam Sandler?"
Yeah, because yeah, it's like yeah, it gets.
Mhm,
You see him from the beginning, don't you? Literally the first scene.
mhm.
The whole movie has him in it, but like literally cuts, you see Adam Sandler. I'm like, wait, this is Adam Sandler. I'm
Yeah,
like, and yeah, I had no idea. When I think Adam Sandler or Sandler, I'm going to say Sandler because for some reason that's how my brain says that word.
okay.
And I hear you saying Sandler, and I'm not going to change the way I say it. Um, I didn't watch a trailer because you try and show me trailers for every movie that we dive
Mhm.
into, and I don't watch them, and sometimes I do, and I'll forget. I didn't watch a trailer for
At
this.
first, you know what? At first, I was very butthurt that you didn't watch the trailers, but then I realized that you were trying to, well, at least you said you were. At least for this whole thing, I think it's good for you to stay as blind as possible for a lot of these because you haven't seen the majority of these movies.
Well, yeah, it's like there's two different main reasons for as to why I don't like. I'm not watching the trailers for these.
Mhm.
One, it's because there's a shit ton of trailers for me to watch. Two, it is because I just think to myself at this point, like, I haven't seen this movie. I've got no clue about it. I just want to go in raw and just be like surprised and
I'm
amazed because
jealous. I'm
that is
so fucking
actually how every single film has gone as well. I've just been amazed. And
yeah,
to answer your question, going back to the
yeah.
question, did I enjoy the film? Yes, I really enjoyed the film. Um, this is the fourth film that we've watched this month for this thing.
Mhm,
Not ever, but this is the fourth film that we've watched for this. This is the third film out of the four that I watched that I'd never seen before. The only one I've seen is Deadpool, as I've mentioned before.
mhm.
And it's just like every time you show me a movie, I'm just like, so far. And I think it's been a good few movies. I think we've watched 7 or 8 things now that I've just gone into without seeing them before. And I'm always just like, wow, this is such a good film. And I always have a really good time. And you're always worried about whatever it is that you're going to show me. And I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That's
I
awesome.
if at this point I look forward to the day that you show me one that I go, this was dog shit. Um,
I'm scared. I wanna be on a good streak. I wanna maintain my streak here of recommendations.
we'll
Uh,
get more into this as we like maybe get to the score. I don't know if
mhm,
it is the score or not, but there was one aspect of this film that I didn't like, and I've mentioned it to you
fair.
already. Um, but it has nothing to do with the plot. It has nothing to do with the acting. So like as we talk about all of that, I enjoyed the film. It's a great film. When we get to the score, if it is even the score that this counts as, there was one aspect of the film that I didn't enjoy. Um,
Okay, and that's
but
fair. I remember what you said, and I think it's fair. I think it's a fair thing, but although I do think it is maybe I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But okay, so let's begin from the start, I guess, with
so for
yeah,
anybody listening, okay, so Our main character, Barry Egan, owns a business that makes novelty items like plungers for like casinos and hotels. It seems relatively successful. Barry has 7 sisters that are extremely overbearing. One of them introduces him to a woman she works with. Now, when I say overbearing, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. When I say overbearing, I mean toxic. Okay, these sisters are so toxic. This poor Barry is. I think most of his anxiety comes from them. Okay, they are so toxic. But anyway, the woman, Lena, takes an interest in Barry and despite his anxiety and failure to initiate with her, asks him her out herself. Okay. Around the time that he meets Lena, he calls a phone sex hotline company just to talk to, although he does end up jerking it at the end during the conversation. While all of this is occurring, Barry has been exploiting a loophole in a healthy choice promotion to obtain a great deal of airline frequent flyer miles by buying a lot of pudding cups from the grocery store. Literally displayfuls. Lena goes on a date with Barry and they kiss, and then she has to leave for Hawaii for work. The the phone sex worker extorts him and gets her employer, who seems to own multiple businesses, including a mattress company, to send 4 brothers to shake Barry down in CA where he lives. Barry goes to Hawaii, although not with the airline miles just yet because there is a processing period, which shows just how much he likes her, to see Lena, and their relationship blossoms. When Lena and Barry are returning from the trip, the 4 Utah brothers ram the car and put Lena in hospital, so Barry fucks them up and then goes to Utah to confront the phone sex mattress employer, Dean. Barry comes home and he and Lena live happily ever after, probably. But what about the harmonium? Who knows?
Who knows? The harmonium.
Um,
It's like you didn't take a breath. That's good. Good job. Like, and I'm gonna be sitting here in the background, like trying to edit in everything as it happens for the video. I know we said we were gonna do that, but
what,
I'll.
like screenshots?
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that's great. You've put yourself up to that now. I mean,
Mm.
the people listening are
Oh
gonna have to
shit.
pull up the YouTube video and
Mhm.
rewind, like, because if, like, say someone's got this on in the background and they're just
Mhm.
listening and
Oh
they've just
yeah.
heard you say, "I'm going to be putting up images," they're gonna have to rewind and watch this,
I'm gonna
and
draw everything in MS Paint. No screen caps, actually. Is that okay? Well, that sounds more daunting. I don't know why I said that.
uh,
Okay.
but anyway, the harmonium, yeah. Let's just leave that a mystery. What about the harmonium? That's going to be the drawing point for the people listening who have just heard me talk about the whole plot and just tell you how the movie goes. The drawing point for the movie, because we was talking about the like drawing point in the previous movie, wasn't we? We was talking about like what's the draw to watch this movie when we was
Yeah.
talking about Drive. The draw to watch this movie is the harmonium. Like,
You think so?
yeah, it's the
Yeah,
harmonium. That's
I
that's
guess
what makes you
so.
want to watch this movie.
But
If
listen, it's symbolism, right? What does it symbolize?
the harmonium, what does it symbolize? It
Yeah.
symbolizes growth.
Oh, you're right.
Um,
I like that. Yeah, he grows as a person.
he does. He grows as a
Oh
person
no,
throughout,
but here's the
and he
take
also,
that I don't like.
whenever he has like a, it seems to be like a thing for him because whenever he gets an issue or stresses out, I know that like when he went and saw his sisters, he smashed the window or like whatever. But there are
Mhm.
points in the film where you can see stress in him, and he goes to the harmonium and he'll just press a key, and it just feels like
Yeah,
that is his way of changing or whatever.
it's like, well, yeah, coping, but I think also finding what he needs to do
Yeah,
somehow, like finding like a sign.
we weren't going to talk about symbolism much in our things, but because I was like, I don't fucking understand symbolism. But as you have jokingly brought it up, I think
Yeah.
that the harmonium maybe could be symbolism in this movie.
Yeah, I think so. I've read some takes on it, that it's like it symbolizes, his heart, or it's like in the take that I don't that confuses me now. I think I told you when we watched this, I was like, I remember there's a fan theory where it was that like she was an alien, and uh, that was like the meaning of like the weird radio frequency noises and all that stuff in it, which I didn't hear as clearly, I think, when I watched it without headphones, and then I heard them so much more clearly. Like there's like they said his name and stuff, but I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention to it, I guess. But then as I was reading, it was like people think that it's supposed to be the origin story for Superman. And so
maybe it's because maybe I'm not a big enough Superman fan to understand. I do like Superman, and I've watched the Superman films, but even and when I say I've watched the Superman films, I've watched the two recent Superman films, right, or three, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, I
the
don't
ones
know
that
either.
have Henry Cavill. I've watched those Superman films.
Here, I'm gonna give you something. Let's do it like this. I'm gonna read you this 8-year-old post on Reddit on fan theories about it being about Superman.
Okay,
Let's see. In the case of Punch Drunk Love, it was when Barry, played by Adam Sandler, said he had 7 sisters. As a fan of astronomy, I know that there's a star cluster called Pleiades. I don't know how to pronounce that. That has the nickname the Seven Sisters. Let's see. Well, what's up with that? Well, Superman has his origin in outer space, and what's funny is that whenever Barry is around his sisters, he freaks out. He can't control himself, and his sisters represent his weakness in the film. Could they be his kryptonite? His suit certainly tells a Superman story. Blue suit, red tie. His girlfriend's name is Lena Leonard, LL, Lois Lane. Superman can fly. What does Barry do in the movie? He exploits a frequent flyer program and gets millions of free air travel and can now fly anywhere he wants for the rest of his life. Oh, Superman has super strength. Does Barry? Yes. Seems like a joke at first when he breaks the handle of an unbreakable plunger. And then he goes on to punch a bathroom door off its hinges. He slams a car door so hard in one scene the camera shakes, and he punches a map into a concrete wall so that the edges of the map hang and the map itself is stuck into the punch hole. I see. I now that I'm like reading this, I'm like, wait,
as you're reading it to me, I am like, wait, yeah, like
yeah.
he is like the thing is without and like I probably would. This is it's good that you've read this honestly, not just for this Superman comparison, but also just for things to us to talk about that I maybe
Yeah,
not wouldn't have spoken about. But it is crazy how strong he is.
yeah,
Like when and like I mentioned it during the that run through of the plot that I did, right? When the car gets rammed into and he gets out of the car and beats up those four brothers, like
yeah.
how? You
It was
know?
effortless for
It
him.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he has that speech that he gives to Dean when he finally confronts him in the mattress store,
Do you
and
have the
he's
speech
like,
in front of you? Can you read the speech out?
"Oh my gosh, I can." Well, no, I don't have it in front of me, but hold on.
Because it was such a good speech. I want you to read
It
it
really was.
as Adam Sandler.
No,
No?
no. It's really just this line where he
Because it was
says,
such a good speech. Like I loved
well,
the part
yeah,
where he was like, and that's that. Like he was
and that's
just
it.
it was such a good speech.
It really was. No, it was a good sequence, I guess, that it has these 2 lines in it, though, where he's confronting him, and he says that because the guy's, like, posturing to him still and threatening him, like, "Oh, what is it that he said? Like, oh, did you just say I can go fuck myself?" Uh,
Oh yeah, the guy tries to give it back, doesn't he? Like at
yeah. He's getting
uh
his hair cut, though, and he has a fucking bib on and shit, like, he's already in a stupid position. He tries to act all
well,
hard and
he's
shit,
not,
and
and it's not even acting, is it? Like that is how a gang leader would be. Or I don't know if he is
yeah,
a gang leader, but he's some sort of leader of something because he owns a lot of businesses. He's obviously he tells these four brothers to go beat up this person, and they do it. And he tells them that
he's the head of the Mormon mafia. No, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
he's the head of some sort of mafia, right? You're right there for sure. So I mean, he's not even acting big. Like
Yeah,
he's just doing what any mafia boss there would do, and
yeah,
Barry just doesn't give a fuck.
and he doesn't, so it's the line where he goes, "I have a love in my life. It makes me stronger than anything you can imagine." That's what it is. That's what he says, and you believe it,
Yeah, yeah,
at that
definitely.
point in the movie. And so I guess it's supposed to sum up like why he's able to do that kind of shit. Because I mean, you think about like all the stories of like parents and stuff who get like adrenaline rushes and can like lift cars off their kids and like shit like that. Like people do those things when they feel like something that's close to them is threatened. It's
Yeah,
just it's almost like a fucking I don't know what to say. It's just you show your true colors in those moments, I guess. Like if you weren't 100% in on something, then you're not going to be able to do that. If you don't care enough, it's like oh god, there's a movie. I'm going off on a long tangent here, but I forget what it was called. How do you pronounce that? Force majeure? It opens with like a family who's vacationing in like at a ski resort somewhere. Like they're in the Alps or some shit. And they're like eating in a cafe. And it's like a couple, the husband and the wife and then their kids, and then like an avalanche happens. Like you see in the distance. And so it starts coming down, and like all the people who are in the cafe realize that it's going to hit them, or they, you know, they believe that it's going to hit them. And so the husband just takes off. He doesn't go to get his kids. He doesn't go to check on his wife or anything. He just leaves.
I
And
vibe with that. I can vibe with that.
it all stopped short of the cafe, so they were fine.
Right.
Nothing would have happened. So then the rest of the movie is them dealing with the idea that, well, this person who's supposed to be their protector was going to abandon them in danger, you know? And so it's like when you get confronted with those kinds of situations, I guess,
I would
if
grab one
you
of my
don't
5 cats and then sprint.
know what you're fine.
Yeah, like, yeah,
I mean, at least
definitely.
you're honest about it, right? Like that's fine. I I don't know. I think that the way that Barry's presented in the movie, you don't know how he would you don't know that he is able to care about someone that much in the beginning. He just seems like a ball of anxiety and tension because
Yeah,
of his sisters,
yeah,
you know? Um, it's sort of like a I think other takes I read on it were like, this was one of those Adam Sandler characters from like one of his movies or skits, but like in real life, not in some crazy place that would put up with it or you know, it's I don't really think it's that drastic, but
the thing is,
um
while there is a lot of depth to this film,
yeah.
there is some depth to this film, right? I do also want to say that with like with the theme of this film, it is like the most straightforward romance film that we have seen so far. And
Yeah.
we've seen all 4 films now. So, and like not to give any spoilers for the full film away, but you know, it is the most straightforward one out of all of the films that we saw for this month.
I
It
think
is
that
very
yeah.
straightforward for a
I think
romance
the
film.
romance is like in the plot, in the everything. Everything about it feels like it's a romance film.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, with Love Exposure, which we'll discuss, you know, later, but that it's plot-wise, like on paper, it's about someone trying to find someone again,
Yeah.
but then like everything else that happens in it is
A bunch
yeah.
of comedy shit. Like
Well, a bunch of anime shit.
sorry, I don't want to say shit because I don't want it to be like I don't want someone to think it's shit. I mean a bunch of comedy stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
like a bunch of it's sure it is him trying to find a romance and it starts sad and it the whole film is him trying to find well he's already found the true love that he has and it's trying to get the true love to realize that he loves them. But then everything in the rest of that is just awkward comedy stuff.
Awkward comedy, how dare you?
Anime, real life anime, uwu, senpai brother, whatever.
Die. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. So,
No, but
yes,
then
moving
again,
on.
like, but when we sit down and talk about it again, I'm going to say it's a great film. It was a good film, um, but yeah, it's just very funny. And anyway, but then again, Deadpool. It was a
Yeah.
romance film. It had those romance aspects in it. But it was filled with other stuff. It was filled with the comedy and it was filled
We
with
had
the
the
action.
action plot and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, whereas this was just you sit down and you go, this is a romance film. This is a man who's trying to just find love and to find peace and to find tranquility and to just find someone to just make him feel happy because the whole
Mhm.
film is just his anxiety and anger and I assume sadness, right? And he
Mhm.
finds this person who just seems to, when he's with Lena, it all just goes away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and it is just that. It's just that straightforward romance. Sure, the tone is busy and quirky, and the film is about gaining strength, but it you can just see that all it is just him wanting to find love and happiness.
Yeah. And I think that yeah, she's Lena, I guess, is I think I put this in there, but he seems to have no sort of idea how to approach anything in his life.
Yeah,
I'm honestly, you know, I'm almost surprised that he is able to start a business
yeah,
and do all that kind of stuff. Like I'm kind of surprised that he's at that point, but he is. And so you know he has something there, but when we meet him, I mean, he's just like I think once he talks to her, like he runs inside and like hides in the corner and is like, you know, like trying to calm down from having to have had that whole interaction with seeing the car crash and the harmonium and then her and then, you know, everything. And he acts normal, you know, but whenever she approaches him and like she's the one who asks him out and all that stuff, like uh he doesn't know how to handle it because he hasn't had anyone, I think, approach him like that or show him support or kindness like that yet in his life.
Barry's character is definitely, I don't know what the PC way to say this is. I don't want this to come off as offensive. He is definitely on the spectrum.
Yes, no, I mean, yeah, that's
Right, and
he's
and you
yes,
can
yes.
tell, like as you mentioned his business, right? And you said like
Mhm.
I don't even know how he got that business up and running in the first place. But Barry seems like the type of person who is he's definitely on the spectrum, and he's like one of those people that if he puts his mind to something, he will stick with it and he will do it the best that he can. And that's
As
how I imagine
evidence.
him
Yeah,
building his
yeah.
company in the first place. And the thing is, as well, you see, whenever he talks about his company, he always talks highly about his company. It's always like he is very happy with what he's done with his company. He thinks his company is going places. Or not even thinks, like he's just so confident. He says, "Oh, it's going places. It's growing." He's always
Mhm.
so confident in his company, and when he talks about those
Yeah,
plungers, right? Um,
yeah. And well,
he,
and I think even clearer is the healthy choice stuff, right? So when
yeah,
he's just shopping in the grocery store and he
yep,
sees it, and then his mind, you can see, immediately starts going down that train of like, "Oh, wait, I can do this?
yeah,
Well, oh, I can do this." And then, yeah, you see that, you follow him on his whole, like, I guess, I don't wanna
and
call it, like, the
then
scam, but
And then he puts his mind to the Lena thing, and it's, like you see he then at first struggles with it, but the more
Mhm.
he puts in, he's constantly trying, he
Yeah,
constantly tries with her, and as mentioned before, as I did the rundown, he literally goes and gets a plane to Hawaii to see her, and it's like he doesn't even have the airline miles for it yet. He likes her so much that he just does that.
and
So
he just in the suit
Yep,
with,
in
like,
the suit
nothing.
as well. In the suit. Oh, again, another thing to add to the plot. He wears a suit the whole way through. Every single day, he's wearing the same suit.
Yeah. I think he does change his tie from the opening, but, yeah, he does end up changing it to the red one that we talked about, but yeah, and I think, him going to Hawaii too, there was a part, and I wanted to put it on here, um, when we talk about his sisters, and we can start with that, I guess,
Sure.
because we meet him, and we've been talking about him and how he, how could he have started his business, the type of person that he is, anxiety and on the spectrum, and his sisters are just so fucking I mean, they make me anxious just listening to them, like, they bombard him, they're calling him constantly at his job. He goes to a party, uh, at their house, one of their houses, and he ends up, what, breaking the sliding glass door with the hammer?
hmm
Because, like, as soon as he walks in, I thought that was actually a good moment where he starts to come in, and then he steps back out, and
And the
then he
reason
comes
he
in
does that
again.
is because he goes in and they're talking shit about him in the other
Yeah,
room, and he hears
yeah.
that and he goes to walk back out, but then he just forces himself to go with it, right?
I thought maybe what I thought actually was that I don't know, maybe this is off, but I thought that when he did that, that was to like give them a chance to stop. Maybe if they heard him coming in, they would shut up.
Right.
But they didn't because as soon as he walked in, they're like, "Hey, you remember when we called you gay boy? Yeah, it used to make you so mad."
And they just
Like,
keep on repeating it as well, don't they? They don't even just say it once. They're like, "Oh, do you remember when we used to keep calling you gay boy?" And they just would go on and on. Why did you smash that? Was it the dog's house?
doghouse or
Why
something.
did you
Yeah.
smash that doghouse? Where did you even get that hammer from? And it's like, and they just keep
They're
banging on at
needling
him.
him.
Yeah,
They're needling him to a point, and it's just like,
and it's as if they get a sense of fucking enjoyment out of like it's like what they're doing right there. They want to see him do it again. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're doing it because they want to see him get fucking angry.
yeah, but then as
Like,
soon as he does it, they're like, "Barry, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you retarded? What's wrong with you? You fucking," like,
yeah, they're
as soon
so
as he does it,
toxic.
and it's like, "Really? That's what you?" Because one of the sisters is the one who, introduces him to Lena,
But
and
even
she's so
she's an asshole. Sorry to
yo,
interrupt.
yeah,
I'm
she
so sorry.
is.
It's just like all of the sisters are assholes. But sorry, you talk. I'm so sorry.
No, 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 it's okay. No, she is, though, she is, and it's like when she does that, she's so, like, pushy about it, and, like,
hmm
it's kind of some of her dialogue made it kind of apparent to me that it was supposed to be that, like, inner monologue that some people who have anxiety have, where she was like, "Well, why are you doing that? Well, I don't understand. Why this? Why that?" And it kind of it's like whenever I get anxiety, especially like when dealing with other people. I'm sitting there like, well, why did I do that? Well, what if they think that I did that because of this? Oh my God, they're gonna think I'm a fucking weirdo. Like this is and just rapid fire. Like no one talks like that. No one talks like those sisters.
She's trying to hook him up with Lena, right? And
Hmm.
that seems like a nice thing to be doing for someone. However,
Yeah.
he doesn't want it. I mean, he ends up liking Lena and he ends up wanting to be with Lena, but
Hmm.
he's constantly like, "No, please don't do that. Please, no." And she's just like, "No, I'm going to hook you up. Make sure you come tonight. Make sure you come tonight. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to do something that you don't want, but make sure you fucking come tonight." You know, and this just going to
Hmm.
trigger his anxiety. And I'm sure, like, if this is your brother, surely you've like they've known him for however long. Surely you know that this is going to trigger this person more.
I think, just as a side note, we never really mentioned this, but I think it'll be something we have to talk about when it comes to love exposure. But in this movie, so like the age range of our characters, they're probably like what in their early to mid 30s, I'd say. That's what they seem like to me. I feel like they're
Yeah,
around our age now.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, it's this isn't like obnoxious, 20-year-old sisters. These are people who have families and like there's no re again, there's no reason, like, there's a point where I dislike them, and I guess what I was getting to is whenever, he goes to Hawaii, there's a very like, a cathartic moment where he calls up that sister and is asking for Lena's, phone number or, like, hotel she's staying in or whatever, and she gets kinda like, "Well, why do you want that?" Blah, 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 pulls her bullshit,
Hmm.
and he just starts fucking yelling at her and cursing at her, and it's like, finally, you fucking
Yeah, yeah.
told her how you
Yeah. Exactly as you said, she starts to pull the bullshit again. She starts those toxic things that just annoy you every time you see those sisters talk to him. She starts those toxic traits again, and he just blows up on the phone. Right? He just starts
Mhm.
yelling and screaming. He's like, does he swear there? I don't remember what the exact monologue there is,
He
but he's just
says,
like, shut the fuck up or something, right? He's just like,
like,
stop. I'm gonna fucking
he
kill
said
you. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
he says that, right?
yes, he does. That's what I was gonna say, yeah, he goes like it's a little extra, but
It is
it's
very over the top. Like when he says I'm gonna fucking kill you, I'm like, damn, that's a bit whoa, whoa, whoa. But like he just snaps. He's like, just
yeah.
stop it. Just give me your number.
So, what was next? We're talking about them, right? So when he calls like the phone sex hotline, right? He's just trying to that scene was kind of funny. And he's in his apartment and he's trying to talk to them. He seems so innocent. Like he's just very like, well, what is it? She keeps asking him like, so what are you doing? Are you touching yourself? No, I'm just sitting here. And, like, just she keeps trying to egg on, like, this conversation of, like, "Let's get to the part where you jerk it," or whatever.
Yeah,
And she's saying, like, stuff all suggestively, and he's just like, no, I'm fine. I'm good." Like, he's just trying to have a normal conversation,
yeah.
which is
Because,
kind of
and I mean,
interesting.
just before this scene as well,
Mhm.
he tries to ask one of the sisters' boyfriends or husbands, like, who's a fucking dentist. He's like, oh, you're a doctor. Could you can I talk to you about some stuff? Or can you get someone who I can talk to? And you could tell he just wants someone to talk to. I mean, he's literally saying
Yeah,
it. He just wants a person who he can talk to about his emotions, right?
no judgment, I think, is
And
the I guess I said what I said, like, at the beginning. I think when it comes to, like, thinking that how did he get where he's at with seeming like, he seems to have crippling anxiety, honestly,
yeah,
um, just based on, like, how he acts, but, there's little things that you get that kind of reveal he must have done something leading up to, the moments that we see in the movie, like, he's cautious when he calls, like, the phone sex hotline. He doesn't wanna give them too much information. He doesn't like the fact that they're gonna call back. So, like, the thing that happens to him where they try to get money out of him and extort him, he was trying to avoid that. He knew that that could be a possibility. And that's why it's like you still maintain your sympathy for him because he wanted to use a fake name. He didn't want to have someone know his home phone number. And but it's gonna go bad for him because there's a part where like at the beginning he says, like when she first calls, I think I wrote it down on there where he says like, "Yeah, hi, I'm back," or "My name is back," or whatever. And like instead of it's like a Barry and Jack because he wanted to be called Jack,
yeah,
but his name is Barry, and so he fucks it up. And so then he corrects himself and he says, "Oh, no, okay, this is Jack." And so she starts calling him Jack, but there's a point at before that call ends where she does call him Barry, and he doesn't say anything about it. And I don't know if it's because he's, like, too anxious or he just is starting to get into the, towards the end where she finally convinces him to, put his hand down his pants or whatever, but, then I think it's what, the next morning he gets the phone call, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we was to talk about, I feel like we need to talk about Lena because she is also the main, like the second main character of
Yeah,
this film, right? But I don't know what to say about Lena. I mean, I have a lot to say about Barry because you see it from Barry. It feels like a POV movie of Barry, honestly. Like
yeah.
I don't know what to say about Lena because, and I guess to go back and agree slightly with what you said about her character being mysterious. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't have much to say about Lena's character.
Yeah,
But what I will say about Lena's character is I will emphasize what I said earlier. She's very accepting of everything that Barry has wrong with himself.
yeah.
You find out a little bit later in the film that when they accidentally meet at the beginning wasn't an accident, and she actually went to see him a little bit before meeting him again.
Mhm. 'Cause
So
she saw a photo of him, that's what it was,
yeah,
and so she
she's
was, like, enamored immediately.
hmm she's very interested in Barry's character, and she's very forgiving, as you see. She's very down to earth. She's very accepting of everything he says, even when he explains the crazy dessert idea that he's got. If I
Which
sat
is
down with someone
insane.
and they said that to me, I'm like, what the fuck? And she was just like, okay.
Well, she did say she's like, "That's insane," but it was more like a "that's insane," but, like, she was admiring the fact that he was doing something so insane.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and, I guess that's the thing is that her accepting of him and not being bothered by anything that he does beyond the part where he leaves her in the hospital.
she was very upset there. But even
Yeah.
then, she can forgive it.
Yes. But, because of all that, there has to have been something maybe in her past that would make her that kind of person. It's not a bad trait, of course, but most people would have had to have known maybe someone, especially at, like, where they're at in their lives, would have to have either been in that situation, be somewhat like that person themselves, or, some kind of trauma even to be so accepting. She probably had a growth arc in her life, not, much before that. And I think in the hotel they even talk about like I think he's asking her questions about like if she'd been in a relationship, like does she have a boyfriend? No. And I think that's after they'd slept together and everything too. But have you been married? And she goes, yes. And he's like, oh, what? How long ago? And she's like, well, we can talk about it. We'll talk about it. And so it kind of hints at something in her past. But it's not anything ever concerning.
hmm
You as soon as, like, you see what type of person she is, you're rooting for their relationship immediately.
To add
And I
more as well, as because I know I said that I don't really have much to say about Lena, but to add more, slightly more, earlier we spoke about like age range and how the
Mhm.
sisters and Barry all seem around about our age. I think
Yeah,
Lena seems like she could be somewhere between 5 or 10 years older than Barry.
that's true.
She
Yeah,
seems a
absolutely.
lot more, and it's not even just mature as in like, because women are more mature, right? But it's not even that she just seems mature. It just seems like she's lived more of a life than what Barry has at that point.
Yeah, 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 no, that's a good point. I think I would have to agree. She seems very, like, used to everything, I
Yeah.
guess. Nothing phases her.
And
And
also,
it's
I wanted to, as well, I also wanted to respond to, because you was talking just now about how she could have had like some past traumas or, obviously some sort of arc to end up with the characteristics that she's got and how accepting she was. It may even just be that she has the same issues as Barry, and you just don't see it from her point of
right,
view.
right.
She may have the same anxiety, or she may know the shit. She may somehow understand the shit that he goes through his head, or what he's dealing with it like
Yeah.
mentally, and she's just you don't see it from her point of view. The whole movie is Barry's point of view. You don't see it from her point of view. Maybe she has the same issues as what Barry's got, so she's
I think
just like,
so. I think so because with us, we discussed that he has obsessive behavior, in so many words. We didn't use that word yet, but, like, with the stuff that he's done. I mean, it's sweet when you learn about it, but it is obsessive behavior for her to, like, go to his job really early in the morning when they first open and like had this whole scenario made up to
Yeah,
try to meet him.
yeah, yeah.
So that's definitely not far
Because
off.
she's
I
like,
don't,
"Oh, I'm just dropping my car off." Yeah, like she's
yeah,
made up the whole scenario.
you believe her when
Yeah,
she
you
comes
do.
up and you don't question it at all until she says that.
Mm.
And but then you believe her when she says that too, that that's what she did.
We've spoken a bit. We've spoken a lot about the characters, but I also want to talk, and I only want to touch on this briefly, personally.
Mhm.
And I know that you want to move on, so if possible, we'll talk about this briefly. I don't want to talk about everybody's acting in this,
Mhm.
but I want to say that for Adam Sandler, when you say Adam Sandler, or when I picture Adam Sandler films, this isn't the type of film that I picture Adam Sandler in. This is never ever the type of thing that when you say Adam Sandler to me, this is what I think of. Um, so
Yeah.
I want to say that for Adam's acting in this was amazing, and I don't think I could see anybody in Adam's role other than him. He did so good at that role.
Definitely not. Definitely, yeah. You know what, too? And I don't want to say that anyone would ever do this, but it's so prime for a remake because it's now 20 years old. This movie came out in 2002,
All
which
right.
is crazy to me. But
Fucking
back
put
then,
Adam back in it again as well. Like, do
you
a
know,
remake and use Adam Sandler again.
when it came out, people were surprised by that. Now he's had some more dramatic roles. I think he had Uncut Gems recently, and there was something else too that were all like really acclaimed roles that he's been in. But this was like a surprise for a lot of people when it came out. They weren't expecting that he had this, and he is so good in it. Like if you have that in your mind of the kinds of roles he was doing at the time, and also a lot of the roles he did afterwards, like Jack and Jill and Zohan and all that kind of stuff, like for him to do this type of movie,
Like, and what the thing is, I have seen. What's the movie that he's in? Is it You've Got Mail? Is he in that one, or is that someone else?
no, that's someone else. That's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
They're
no, because I
similar.
was going to go off on a tangent, and I was going to say I know that he's in that movie where that girl gets amnesia at the end, but that's
50 First Dates? Oh no, that's not the end. That's at the beginning
is
though,
that
isn't
50
it?
First Dates? Is that Adam Sandler?
With Drew Barrymore? Yeah.
That's a
We're
different
like
actor as well. Oh no, is that Adam Sandler?
yeah,
Okay,
with Drew
right.
Barrymore. I
Yeah,
was
cool.
naming the love
Oh,
interest, yeah.
Is Drew Barrymore the name of the woman? All right,
Mhm.
okay. But yeah, I've seen that one as well, 50 First Dates. And I mean, that is also a romance film, right? With
Mhm.
and I don't know if that came out before Punch Drunk Love or after Punch Drunk Love.
I think it was
Uh,
after.
did that come out after? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that was
'cause
another good romance film that he's been in, or at
I've
least it
never
was for me. Like I think when I was younger, I saw 50 First Dates at least 3 or 4 times. Like I thought that
oh
was a
my
good
god,
romance film.
really?
Yeah, I genuinely did.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I've never seen it. I don't know. It seems sort of, I mean, yeah, I guess I could see that.
I think that that's a really sweet movie.
And maybe
For
like,
romance movies.
maybe him being in Punch Drunk Love, because I will say like after that, he did a couple other romantic comedies that weren't so fucking like silly and juvenile in their humor as some of the other ones that he ended up making. So uh, it probably spurred that on where people are like, oh, we can market him as like you know, yeah, a romance guy, a love interest that women would, like to be with. Um, Not that, I mean, he was ever unattractive or disgusting, but he just had made his career off of just being stupid
Yeah.
up until that point.
But anyway, you wanted to move on to the score, which is fine. I just wanted to touch briefly on
No,
Adam Sandler in that role,
I mean, I think
because
everyone does, yeah. Well, actually, you know what? You did talk about though after we'd seen it. You mentioned you were like, well, who's the guy who played Dean, the mattress guy?
yeah,
Um,
because I think Dean, even though Dean's role in that movie was very brief,
mhm,
you see him 3 times throughout the whole movie, right? Once where
mhm,
he tells the brothers to go and do whatever it is, and then a second time at some point after where the sex worker like talks to him again, and then
mhm,
once more at the end where Barry confronts him. You see him 3 times. In those 3 times that you see him, I feel like I learn about a lot about this character.
mhm,
In the very few lines that he has, you see him briefly. I feel like you learn a lot about him, and then in that final scene, you get like a funny moment, and I'm like, damn, this guy's really good at playing this role. I want to, and the reason I asked you for what his name was because I wanted to watch more stuff with him. Um, However,
yeah.
unfortunately, you told me that he's passed away.
Yeah, that's
S-
the
So, and
yeah,
what's his name
but
again? I've forgotten it.
So it's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay.
And yeah, he passed away in 2014, which was yeah, was awful.
Yeah.
I remember, because he was I mean, I think he finally won an Oscar at that point, but he was building up to be like I mean, I consider him one of the greats in terms of acting, but I mean, on the level of like having every role just be knockout, you know what I mean? It
Hmm.
was great. I think so other movies that he'd been in just I mean, I don't know if we're watching anything else there were some that we were going to, but he's in a lot of other movies that Paul Thomas Anderson did. So he was in Boogie Nights and Magnolia and The Master. I don't know, because he started out like doing character stuff. Like he was in Twister as like a side character, and I always forgot that he was in that. And then I go back and I watch Twister, and I'm like, oh, that's Philip Seymour Hoffman. What the fuck? He was actually really really good in a Todd Solondz movie called Happiness. But it's that movie's really disturbing and we probably shouldn't watch it, but he played a prank caller who would like call women and say like awful things to them. Like obscene calls, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how best to say that. Like he would call people and just like say dirty shit to them and like just be a weirdo, but he was really good in the role.
I don't want to take away from. I don't know how to say this and maybe not get backlash for it. Or so
Uh-oh.
I don't want to get backlash for it. But here's the thing. I feel like his role as Dean was amazing, right? But
Mhm.
to go back because I just previously said like I don't think anybody could have done Barry's role other than Adam Sandler.
Mhm.
I think that Dean's role and this is the thing, he did an amazing job at playing Dean, right?
Mhm.
But I think the role of Dean could have been casted to a lot of other people. For example, and just to name one out of maybe a few others that you could potentially put there, but like I think that type of role I could picture Jack Nicholson in that role. Like it could be any mafia boss kind of person.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
you know?
No, and I agree. I do agree with that. It's just like it's anytime I think that you would see an actor like Philip Seymour Hoffman in something, it's like, oh, I'm so glad we got to see him. I'm glad they found something for him. That's nice. Like,
Yeah.
actually, here's a bit of trivia for this movie. One of the brothers was going to be played by John C. Riley. Do you know who?
He's yeah, oh god, I'm gonna be so wrong here. Oh god, please do not let me be wrong this one time in my life. Is he the is he the guy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
No, that's Jack Nicholson.
Fuck! I literally just said his name, didn't I? I was just talking about Jack Nicholson.
That's like from the 70s, isn't it? I don't know when that movie came out.
Oh god, they look the same there. Like,
No, they do have the same like hair and
oh
yeah.
god, I knew I was gonna be wrong. I just wanted to be right. God damn.
You're fine. But this guy's been in like a ton of shit. Sean Penn was cast as Dean originally, which I can see. That's one I can see, right? But he had to drop out for some reason. Um, and
No, that
then
wouldn't. I don't know. I've just
really?
googled Sean Penn and like
Ah,
no, like I could picture Jack Nicholson. I could picture John C. Riley in that role. Like not even as one of the brothers. Like I could picture John C. Riley as Dean. I could picture Jack Nicholson as Dean. Um,
yeah. Well,
but
I think there are a
like when
lot.
I
I think it
Google
was
Sean Penn, he's a
initially.
lot different to those guys.
I guess so. But John C. Reilly was going to play one of the brothers, but he decided not to. Like he dropped out because of that, because he thought that a lot of people would recognize him and wonder why he didn't have a bigger role in the movie.
Understandable. If I
You know,
because they yeah those brothers didn't have a big role and like the biggest part for them is when they get beaten up. I know that there is also the part where they kidnap him and like threaten him, but I wouldn't even say that's the biggest part in that movie for the brothers specifically. The biggest part in the movie is where the brothers get beaten up.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
like if you had have seen that movie, you would have gone, why is he just in a role where he's like seen twice and one of them is him getting beaten up and
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's true. It wouldn't have been enough for him to do, really. So, okay.
so did you want to move on to the score with this movie or
Yeah, so what I was gonna say, is that, like, a lot of the music in it it's either very, like, almost what is it, dissonant? It's kind of it's there to create anxiety, which is a
which
good
it
part
definitely
to
does.
talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely does. It does its job, okay? And this is the thing. This is what I will say. It does its job, but I didn't like it. Like And it's only for the first part of the movie that I don't like it.
Mhm.
It's only when we're learning about this character, I guess, right? But the first part of the movie is just it's constant noises. It's constant like banging. This is what it feels like anyway. Like it feels like constant banging and crashing and just noise, like noise, just noise. And and I know that that's supposed to be what he's feeling. That is supposed to be the anxiety. It's supposed to be anxiety inducing. But I'm just like it was
Yeah.
a little bit distracting for me at times. But then it calms down at some point during that movie.
Yeah, it does, and you get, I guess that was where I thought there was a plus was when, they started kind of using very almost like 40s, 50s style music, like those, there's there's a part where some of the music is, very, like, classical romance music, like, it's something you'd see in, like, some Hollywood romance from, like, the early 50s. I don't know. I really like that, and the music that they used whenever he first gets, like, robbed or whatever by the brothers, and he's running away from them,
Yeah,
it's like monster movie music, and,
yeah.
like, it's so good,
And
I'm
then,
glad
like, here's the thing: when you take that scene that you've just spoken about, that was
Yeah.
so good, right? As you just
Yeah.
said, that bit was so good. But then you take the first part of that movie. I don't even know
Mhm.
how long it is, whether it's like the first 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. I don't remember. It's not. I don't even think it was that long that it lasted for. It might have just been like 5 or 10 minutes that you just get those horrible noises at the beginning, just constantly playing over everything like a foreshadowing. But like once that finishes, the rest of it is just so good. It's just
It's
good
like smooth
music.
sailing. It's like
Yeah,
things are getting better, and I think that was intentional, right? It kinda shows, like, his journey to be so, like, overly analytical, but it just becomes a lot more normal and ordered in his mind, and that's where you have, like, those more, like, ordinary compositions, and I think even at the end, there was, like they finally there's lyrics, in some of those songs, and it all fits, though. It's so good. It's so good.
um, I want to say it like a lot of the whole film, not even just a lot of the film. Sorry, the film feels like it's being like filmed, and I know that you've just said that the film is 20 years old, so this will
Mhm.
be. Did this film come out in the 2000s or did it come out end of the 90s?
2002.
Right. So this film felt it felt 90s to me, like with the flare that was over the camera, or maybe it
Mhm.
was the coloring or something, but it felt very 90s, like with the suit he was wearing, with the warehouse that it was in. A lot of the film felt very
Just
90s to me.
that part, like, the late '90s, early 2000s, it's very that period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
I was a big fan of, and I dislike it one moment for that, because
yeah.
usually when I think of older films, I've like not argued, but I've had discussions with friends before, or with my wife, or whatever, or with my mum, where it's like I don't usually enjoy older films,
Right.
but I think when I talk about older films, I'm talking about action films, like older action films. I don't enjoy because I'm
Wait,
all
like
about the CGI.
Oh, okay, you don't like practical effects and
Yeah, like I can't
Mhm.
enjoy one of the older Aliens, whereas I could fully enjoy one of the new Marvel films, because it's like, it's different CGI, right?
Okay.
But this isn't an action film. It's just a love romance. It's just a love romance that's
Yeah,
set in the 90s, and it's just very simple, and it's just I liked that. I liked it a lot. Um,
and it wasn't too, like, dated or anything either, even on that note, I guess. I mean, there's no cell phones. He has his little phone that he has, and there's a bit where he's always walking. I guess that's something that, like, would be a way more quirky thing now than it would be then, but I love that there was, like, this gag, I think it happens twice, where he carries his, home phone and I think it's his business phone, like, he with the cord hanging off of it, he carries it with him to wherever he's going next, like,
he
he doesn't put it
definitely did it
down.
at the end of the film. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that
yeah.
at the end of the film. What was the other time that it happened?
I think
Because
I'm pretty sure that he does it after they call him, after Georgia or whoever calls him, the first time in the morning. and he
Oh,
gets
and
really
he ends up taking
mad.
his phone to work.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I remember that because he has that phone call with her and he ends up just taking his phone to work. I don't know
Yeah,
if he takes it
yeah.
off the cord or if it was one of those wireless home
I
phones.
think it was one of the wireless ones, but it was, it's still, like, an ancient phone, and then, like, it's funnier, I think, when he takes the one with the cord, because then, like, after he has that moment, and when he confronts, Dean in the mattress shop, and then he just hands the fucking phone to the cashier and
Yeah.
just walks out.
Um, do you want to talk about the production designs ever, like at all for this movie?
It's not, there weren't a lot of scenes where I think it was important. I think, well, actually, okay, you know what? Fuck, I'm gonna eat that because there's one part, because I mean, I like his apartment and his little warehouse shop and everything. It's all very kind of mundane and nondescript for the most part. I mean, he goes to Hawaii and it's very Hawaii, but there was something that I was gonna bring up, which is the grocery store scenes. I'm a big fan of grocery stores. That's like a
We
personal
spoke
thing.
about grocery stores last time as well, didn't we?
We did. Oh shit. Yeah, the grocery store theme.
Every
Um,
single movie. Let's talk about the grocery store.
yeah, you know what? And they're shopping and love exposure, and I'm probably going to talk about that too because there was something there where he's shopping with his dad. Whatever. Anyway, is there any shopping in Deadpool? There isn't. Oh my
There
god.
isn't any shopping, and I know that this is totally different. There isn't any shopping, but there is the hotel scene, which we spoke about at the beginning with the Dolly Parton song. There is the hotel scene
Oh,
where he smashes
yeah.
in through the window, and I
Yeah.
think that that hotel, like, we're not meant to be doing this here, but like to talk about production design for Deadpool, I think
Uh-huh.
because we didn't talk about we
We
didn't
didn't.
we
Yeah.
didn't have this layout for Deadpool, did we? To talk
Yeah.
about production design for Deadpool, his apartment was very good. His apartment was amazing. And we spoke
Yeah.
about his apartment briefly in the previous podcast because we was like, oh, he does get money from being a mercenary, so it makes sense how he lives that sort of lifestyle. He could
Yeah.
probably live a better lifestyle if he wanted to. Um, the hotel that he smashes in through the window, I think that that
Mhm.
looks very, very. Honestly, I personally think that that looks very realistic. When you think this day and age, that's what it's set in. It's set in this day and age. I think that
Yeah.
it looks very realistic. That it's a hotel, isn't it? It's a however high a story building, um, and
Yeah.
it's got a
Yeah.
bar and it's got a swimming pool in the middle. Um,
Yeah.
I think that that is quite realistic, honestly. When you
No, I think you're right. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but uh
But to carry on, you wanted to talk about the shopping scene in this movie. Oh, you
I
wanted to
did
talk about
because
the.
yeah, so I mean for like grocery stores and stuff, I have like a weird thing about them. I love them. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma, and so like I lived right like my street was directly behind a grocery store. And I feel like this is probably some kind of stereotype or joke about people who live in the Midwest, but like we would go hang out at the grocery store after school sometimes.
All
Um
right.
and so I don't know, I think the nostalgia factor for that, like, going into some of those, like, cheaper, shitty supermarkets, I have this weird fascination with, like, grocery store design. It looks really good. I like it a lot, but it's not it's a little bit, I don't know what the word would be, austere, I guess, compared to yeah, it's very severe. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep while I talk about lens
I'm
flare.
not. Don't mention the fact that I was yawning because you can't even see or hear it. You didn't even need to mention it. I have my own thing
Yeah,
that I wanted to add to the production as well, though.
please do. Do it.
I wanted to because I did just have to pull up the screenshots that you sent me that explain what all of these movie lingos mean. But when it comes to production design, I think that the costume, Barry's costume specifically, was very fitting for the movie, for the whole
Oh,
movie. Yeah,
yeah.
well, because like, and he even explains it at one point because one of the sisters says like, "What's with the suit?" And he explains, he just wants to wear the suit because he wants to seem more professional for the for the
Mhm.
for the business that he has, which again is very fitting for his character. He's very
Yeah.
focused on this business, and he just wants to look smarter so that he can present himself better. And he's set in his mind that it is a growing company, and I think that a man wearing a suit is what you want to see in a growing company, right?
Yeah, and, and I think I made a note on it, but I don't think it's something like he said, explicitly to like his employees, but then you see Lance, the character played by Luis Guzman, you see he's wearing a suit then later.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, like, at the start, they're all wearing, like, polos and, slacks or jeans or something,
yeah,
because it's in a warehouse, but then, yeah, then he's wearing a suit, and then you kind of have to assume that that's probably what the other salesmen will probably end up wearing while they're selling stuff to people, and so it had an effect. He was very that calculated decision was a good one,
yeah.
and that's cool.
You have a
Yeah.
person selling things to you. You don't want a person that's dressed up, looking casual,
Mhm.
or at least it's not that you don't want a person looking casual, whatever. It's just that when you have a person in a suit selling these products to you,
You're gonna trust them more,
they're more
I think.
trustworthy. Yeah,
Sales
exactly that.
psychology, but yeah, there's truth to it, and I think that's interesting. Yeah.
And it's very cool that he started this trend. He just did it because he wanted to look more professional, and then his colleagues saw him doing this and thought, I should do that too.
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause you don't do you see him in anything else in the movie besides, like, the bathrobe in the hotel? Like, I don't know
I
if
don't
that's
think you do. I think even when he like goes to Hawaii, he's got the same suit.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
always the suit.
yeah.
Um,
But
and
it's like it doesn't, like, get dingier over time or anything. It's not like it's not treated in that way at all. Like, it seems like he must take that suit. He either has multiple ones or he, gets it cleaned and pressed every night. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he takes care of it. Like, it's not yeah, and I like that. I like that.
it's not like the driver's jacket or anything. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it
exactly.
becomes a like a mess by the end of the film. It is constantly pristine.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great detail, I think.
The pace of the film is yes. The pace of the film is very good. It's I don't feel
Sure.
like it was rushed. I don't feel like it was too slow.
I think, honestly, for
It's a very comfortable film.
it is, and for a Paul Thomas Anderson film, I wanna say it's probably his shortest film. Maybe not, though. If I would expect a longer film from him, and it's, like, 95 minutes. It's great. Like, it tells everything that you need to know in that time. It fits everything in, and it doesn't feel like anything's rushed. It doesn't feel like, you're missing any pieces. I don't feel like there are any scenes that I missed, there's some movies where you feel like, "Did they leave something out here? I'm confused,"
Out
you
of
know?
the three films that we've watched so
Mhm.
far, I feel like this was the easiest film for me to recall in my head because I have a thing with like forgetting things quite easily
Mhm.
lately, as I mentioned to you before. Um, and like when we did our review for Drive, I had to try and remember a lot of the film or like the order of things, or there's things that I feel like I can't remember still of that film. And we only watched it like a week or two ago. Whereas
Yeah.
Punch Drunk Love, which we watched 2 weeks ago now, I don't. It's not like it doesn't feel fresh or anything. Nothing's ever going to feel fresh in my memory after 2 weeks for some reason. But it's just it wasn't hard for me to remember it, and it did it was quite simple. Um,
Yeah.
but still really good at the same time.
Mhm.
Nothing was rushed. It's not like as you said, it's not like I missed anything.
Yeah.
I don't think if I did go back and rewatch that film just for fun, it's not because I'm watching it to see something that I don't think I saw the first time.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would just be
It's
watching it to just rewatch a masterpiece at that point, or not a masterpiece, but an artwork. Sorry.
yeah.
Um,
How dare you almost call it a masterpiece, and then it's okay. I it's one of my favorite movies, but it's a romance film, so
and romance just ain't your thing, really, right? Is it?
not really,
Um,
and that's why I like this one a lot is because it made it something I could digest, I think. Yeah.
So we'll go briefly over a few things in the dialogue, and then we'll maybe talk for a bit, or we'll
Yeah, we'll
do
see.
we'll see. But yeah, so some of the dialogue in the film. So at the beginning of the film is the dialogue between Lena and Barry, where it's there's a piano in the street, and it's just sort of like yeah,
Oh, yeah, she says something, and he's just you think that he would just say, like, "Yeah, that's, blah, blah, blah," but he goes, "Yeah," and then, like, he just
and this it was because of the whole anxiety. Like at the start of the film, there was
yeah.
the whole anxiety thing going on, right? He
Mhm.
he had a flash or not a flashback, like he had a sort of vision in his head with the of that piano getting smashed into, right, or something, or a car get. Oh wait, no, he for some reason he stood there and he pictures a lorry smashing into a car, right?
I think that happened.
You
I
think that
think that
happened?
I
Oh, that
do, I
happened, and
really
then
do. I think that, but maybe I mean, maybe not. I never thought of it that way. I thought that maybe it was supposed to be kind of like you having to crash into the story sort of and, like, seeing how hectic things are around him when he's just trying to enjoy his morning coffee. There's again, also it's California. I don't know if he lives in LA or something. He mentions it, but I don't remember where he said he was.
But
Yeah,
even
he's
like
somewhere.
to say maybe it was real, maybe it was real, maybe I've got it
Yeah,
wrong there, maybe it was real. But like you get this whole hecticness of the car crash, this
yeah.
piano just randomly being left at the end of the street, and then this woman pulls up in a car, and then this is like, oh, I've come to like drop my car off, and all of this is sort of just like being thrown on him, you know, and
Mhm.
it's all so hectic, and you've got this crazy ass, this music going on constantly to show anxiety, and she's trying to make conversation with him, and which is there's a piano in the street, that's her making conversation, and his response is just like, as you've said, you would expect a more sort of detailed or calm response, but his response is just sort of like, yeah,
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 he doesn't know how to react.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like everything's in is going crazy for
He's
him.
still processing it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
already talked about the that one thing on
yeah,
there, the
you've already
second thing.
mentioned the hello, this is back, and
Yeah.
it was when he gets a call back from the sex line.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
have spoken about that already, and he answers the phone, and he's like, he wanted to say Jack because that was the alias, is it?
Cover. Yeah, his
The
alias that he
alias,
wanted to
sorry, that
use.
was the
Yeah.
alias that he'd given himself. But he picks up the phone, and he goes to say, I guess, Barry and Jack at the same time, and he says, "Oh, hello, this is back," um, because he
And
wanted
when
to
he
call
does
Jack.
that, he just accepts it because he does that at multiple points, right? Where he says like, "Oh, business is food," and he just kind of like I think he knows that he fucks up, but he just lets that awkward pause hang there.
Yeah,
And it's like, "Yeah, I mean, oh, I'm Jack." Like, he'll correct himself, but it's not like, "Oh, I don't know why I will." He doesn't do that.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, that part was
And
you
this
you feel the thing for him, I guess.
Yeah, you feel that awkwardness. Like, like if that was me in that situation, I'd go, "Oh, sorry, I meant Jack. I don't know why I did that." Whereas he's very good at playing these mistakes off calmly. He's so good at
Yeah.
it. It's as if he's done it for 30 years of his life and he's just accepted it.
Oh, yeah.
He's just going to make these mistakes and he plays them off so smoothly at this point. He'll just correct himself and carry on. He won't dive into that mistake. He just corrects it and
Yeah,
carries on.
exactly.
Um, and then you get the scene where the restaurant, is it the owner or is it just like the guy that runs the
I
toilet?
don't know what it is. I didn't know if it was a waiter or something, but he comes and grabs him, right?
Yeah.
Because he's in there and he's what something makes him angry. What was it that made him angry?
Isn't it the conversation that he has with Lena? Doesn't
Yeah,
something
but
something between isn't it an exchange between him and Lena that
it
triggers him?
is, but I don't
I
remember
don't remember what it
exactly what
was that she said, and again, I don't think it was her trying to be spiteful, but something triggers him.
or no, maybe it was something that, like, his sister did or said, and, like, he was getting too anxious about it because he heard it through her. It had to have been something like that, but
Yeah, that
then
makes
he
more sense. Yeah.
yeah,
That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Like his sister said something about him.
it was something that she probably wasn't supposed to hear or whatever, and he feels embarrassed by it, and he gets angry.
So he goes and
That's his
smashes up the bathroom, knocks, not
he
as mentioned before, like we've mentioned this quite way
yeah,
back, but he smashes the door off of its hinges, messes up the
yeah,
bathroom completely.
and he
Um,
references it too, he says, like, "Oh, I beat up a bathroom," I think at the end is
he
what he
does,
says.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, so then the guy pulls him aside and is, like, telling him he has to leave, and he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't me." Like, he tries to maintain composure in the situation, and the guy is just like, "Sir, I'm gonna crack your fucking head open." And then he, like, sits back down and he goes like, "Oh, I don't like this place. Let's go. I just don't like this place." And she's like, "Okay." And that's one of those parts that's really it's like a really good showcase of how much she puts up with because I don't know if maybe she knows that's what he went to go do, but it is odd for someone to just get up in the middle of a date and not wanna go there and be like, "Oh, I just don't like this place," and not offer any more details.
Yeah,
And she's just like, "Okay, okay."
she's so accepting, bro. I
Yeah.
wish, honestly, I wish I had that person in my life. But then again, maybe not, because like I don't know.
Does it enable at some point?
Yeah. With how accepting it is, with how accepting she is, does it then become an enabler for you? Or does it then just mean that you want a woman that's not going to argue back? You know, and I don't, that's not what I'm saying I want.
Yeah.
You know, I
No.
want
I mean,
someone
I
that,
think I think in the movie, it's more like, it makes you cherish at least the people in your life who understand things, like emotions that aren't necessarily the best reactions to things, and, like, are like, "That's okay. I get that. You're okay." People who don't judge you, I think, more so, and I wanna believe that in this movie with Lena especially, that in terms of talking about their future, I don't think she's gonna, like, fix him or thinks that there's anything massively wrong, but I think that she probably, through her being so accepting and kind and being interested in him and, telling him when he does something that she doesn't like the leaving at the hospital, that she's going to be a positive influence on him to not do those things anymore,
yeah.
you know? And I think that's what that scene kind of shows too. And a lot of the scenes in it between them, but that one specifically, she just goes along with it and she's interested in him still.
To
And that's
slightly
nice.
emphasize the point that I made
Yes.
at one point about her potentially also maybe having the same issues as him, you know? Maybe
Yeah.
when he sat down and said, "Oh, I don't like this place, I want to leave," she's just being understanding there because
That's perfectly reasonable to
that's
her,
perfectly
maybe.
reasonable. She
Yeah.
might understand the feelings that he's feeling, like maybe she's been in that situation before where she just
Yeah.
doesn't want to be somewhere, because sometimes you just don't want to be somewhere because you get a bad vibe or something, sometimes you,
Yeah.
and I know that this wasn't the case for him. The real story is that he'd beaten up the bathroom and they had to leave, but like
Yeah.
sometimes you're at a place and you just turn around and you go, I don't want to be here anymore, you
Yeah.
know um
100%.
and she just understood that, and they left.
Mhm.
Yeah, to
Sorry.
move on from that part. Another part with great dialogue is the it's where the four brothers, they kidnap him for the first time. Is it called kidnap when you
They
is it
do,
called
they pulled
kidnap?
him into the back of the car, like, they grabbed him,
Do you know?
and
I
they
was just wondering if it's called kidnap when you do it to an adult. That's all it is.
Oh,
When
they
they
abduct him, just say
Yeah,
they
when they
abduct him.
abduct him, right? When they abduct him,
Mhm.
and he just starts sprinting away, trying to run away, and they drive
Yeah.
past him in the car and yell out like, "Where the fuck are you going? We know where you live!" Like, because they
Yeah,
grab him from where he
you
lived at the
know where
beginning,
you
didn't
live.
they?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and that's just so funny. That is like,
it was, and then he just has to stop, like, they show his reaction to that where he just slows down and is like, "Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay."
It's like he's trying to run away, but where's he running to? He's just going to run
Yeah,
back to where he lived, which is where they abducted him from in the first place.
yeah, exactly. In that moment when he was doing, like, him wailing and, like, I don't know, it was just funny to me, I'm
There
sorry.
was wailing, yeah, like I
He
I
was just
could
like, "Ah, ah."
it felt very real, that scenario.
Yeah,
Not that I've ever
yeah.
been in that sort of situation, but it felt very real. It felt like you're trying to I could see that being real, maybe. Like you're in that
It kinda
situation and
played
you
like a
wanna
weird
just
nightmare, honestly, it
you
kinda
run a
played like some
yeah, it did, yeah, exactly, yeah, it
yeah,
played out like a nightmare. Just trying to run away from
yeah.
the issue.
Oh, there's the part I think they showed it in the trailer, there's a part where, like, when he first starts running from them, he goes to a street and he fucking dives, and it's out of frame. He dives out of frame, but then you see him jump up, and you have to assume, like, what did he do when he did that? Did
That bit
he
is in the movie as
roll?
well, right? Because I
Yeah,
remember that, yeah, he
yeah.
dives. He just dives. Is it over a fence or off of
No,
something?
I think it was, like, off a curb, like, he was at the street, like, it was not over a fence, I don't think, and he was, like, running up to the street, and then he just died like, he does, like, a full, like, body
It's onto
dive, and I was like
pavement, right? As well, concrete.
yeah, yeah, and I was like, "What did he roll? Like, what was he doing?" It was so extreme.
Yeah,
But, I mean, it wasn't, like, out of character for him, I would expect him to do something like that, I think. It was just so odd, I guess, and which it contributed to, like, the whole fever dream feeling of it, I guess.
yeah. And then you have towards the end of the movie, you have the scene between him and Lena when they're in the hotel in Hawaii, and
Oh, yeah.
they're sort of dirty talking to each other, quote
Mhm.
unquote, quote unquote dirty talking, because that's it was some fucked up dirty talking. But I don't remember what she says. Does she say? They get to a point where it's like something about scooping eyeballs out and sucking them, right?
Yeah, yes, I think that's what she says,
Uh, and then
oh, man,
his response is just like,
"You're so pretty,"
"You're so
like, "I
pretty.
just
I just
wanna"
want to smash it with a fucking, I just want to fucking smash it with a sledgehammer. Like how pretty she is."
Yeah. It's, like, really
Um,
violent, grotesque imagery, but, like, they're
they're trying to do some dirty talking there, but it's like
It's, like, connecting, I think, and yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be, like, some kind of, I don't know, allegory for something else, but to me, it was like I feel like she knew what he meant and played along.
there's
I guess that's
definitely
what I
there's an
wanted
awkward pause as well, right? When he says that, isn't there like there's some awkwardness.
Yeah, and then, like, you can tell that she's trying to think of something, I think, or they're both and then they both end up like, or they're thinking of something to say
It
to
ends up just
carry that.
becoming like a one-up thing of I'm gonna say
Yeah,
something crazier than the crazy thing that
yeah,
you just said.
but it's kinda sweet in
Yeah,
a weird way. Yeah, that's funny, I
I don't
don't know,
know, like that scene is definitely a thing, but would you, if you was in that scenario, would you end up playing along, or would you stop, or would you
oh,
feel put
I would
off by the
oh god,
sex?
I don't know, I mean, it probably depended on how I felt about that person. I've certainly played along with, like, stuff like that, like, talking weird about something before, not, like, sincerely about sex or anything, but I feel like I could. If it was someone that made me really uncomfortable, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Ugh," but, like, if it was something where I just was vibing with the situation, yeah, I could see myself saying some weird shit, like, I don't know, it's just it seemed like once she realized what he was doing, it was, like, an interesting thing that she decided to engage in, like, it spoke a lot about how she felt about him to just start speaking like that, like, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's interesting to me, yeah.
For me, I think like if what they were doing there wasn't supposed to be foreplay, because the thing is,
Yeah.
whatever they're doing there, it did lead to them having sex in that scene, right? It cuts off, you don't see the sex, right? I don't think,
Mhm.
but that's what it led to there. If it wasn't in a position where you're about to have sex and you're just doing it for the banter, you're just fucking around, I
Yeah.
could I could go as far as possible and just and joke. Like I have no restraints with being stupid.
Yeah.
But if you're like laying on top of each other and and someone starts doing that, I'm like,
I guess, I guess would you, like, laugh or something,
I'd
'cause I mean,
laugh. I would laugh.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think it ends with him saying, like, "I like this," like, and he's, like, nodding, like, he likes their thing, like, I don't know, yeah, anyway, it was an odd scene. I don't think it's out of place, though, I like it a lot, and I think
yeah,
the dialogue is funny, but, then the end, the confrontation in Utah is, like, the best part, I think.
yeah. And to bring it back up again, because we did touch on this briefly earlier when we was talking about
Mhm.
Dean's character. There's the
Yeah.
sequence where Barry's there and he tells him to go fuck himself, and he turns around and his response is, "Did you just say go fuck yourself?" Like as if.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Do you know what that kind of gives me? Like the scene in South Park where they're in a car
Oh.
park and they're just like they've got their arms up and they're trying to posture at each other and they're just walking around and like, don't call me buddy, pal. And like,
Oh.
and it's like they're posturing at each other like they're about to get into a fight in a car park and they were posturing at each other and
Oh,
like, don't call
yeah.
me buddy, pal. I'm not your pal, friend. Um, and that's what that scenario felt like. He's like, go fuck yourself, and he's like, did you just say go fuck yourself? And it's like, and they're like, they're posturing at each other like they're gonna get into a
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, they get, like, really close and, like, they're in each other's faces, and Barry does not back down. It's when he says that line about, like, how he has strength now because of the love that he found, and so then, so he was like, "So I would say that's that,"
yeah,
and the guy, like, is thinking he asks him, like, "Did you come all the way here from," and he's like, "Yes, I did." Just to do this. And he's like, "That's that." So then he walks out to the front of the store because 'cause they're, like, in the back of the shop. He
this is
walks out to the
amazing.
front of the store. Yeah, and the guy comes out and he, like, storms out, Dean does, and he's like, and
You
what was
fucking
it?
pervert, or something like. He just shouts,
Exactly,
"Yeah,
like, "Get the fuck
walk away,
outta
you
here
fucking
then." Yeah,
yeah."
and he turns around and he's like, "Didn't I warn
He
you?"
turns around and starts storming back. He's like,
Yeah,
"Didn't I just warn you? That's
and like
that."
I said, "That's that." Like,
Yeah, and then Dean's just like, "Yeah, that's that. That's that."
yeah. It's like, that's what a fucking emasculating moment for that man, like, he just fucking he got shown by him, and it's I don't know, I would have to say just as an aside, I would say that's that mattress man, like, that part where he says that, I think before he walks out, I quote that all the fucking time, I just love that whole part. It's just so fucking silly to me. I would say that's that mattress man. Like it's just so I don't know. I love the writing in that sequence, and I have to imagine that it was just fucking amazing to film and like act in. I wish I wish I could do something like that. It just seems like so satisfying to like say those things to someone.
Yeah,
Anyway, I think that's it for the dialogue.
I think it is very satisfying.
Yes.
The end scene is like a very satisfying part of the whole movie. When you
Yeah.
take when you take Barry's character and Barry's character development for the whole thing, that final scene where it just shows confidence in himself,
Mhm.
and I don't think you see that type of confidence in Barry's character throughout the whole film. It shows the growth of his character. It shows the love that he feels for Lena. Um,
Yeah.
it is. It's very satisfying.
It's
That's
the
the best way.
culmination of, yeah, his whole journey, I think, at least that point, it's like the first resolution for him. Like,
Yeah.
because then after that, now he can go just travel with her and live with her. He can run his business from his phone and have Lance take over and use all his, scammed fucking frequent flyer miles while she goes and works, and that's nice and sweet. And I love that. And I think it's great. I think it's tied up nicely and neatly.
So one last thing that I would like to ask at the end
Mhm.
is: would you just go and recommend this film to anybody, or have you even before actually? Maybe answer both. Like, would you just go recommend this film to someone? I know that obviously we watched it, but I don't know. I don't. It wasn't really like it wasn't a recommendation
Mhm.
thing. We watched it as part of a theme, right? But
Yeah.
would you,
Just, like,
if you was
on its
just
own, like,
yeah,
if someone wanted to know, like, "Oh, I'm bored, I wanna watch a movie," like, I mean, obviously, I have, like, a million and one recommendations, but this is a movie I have recommended to a lot of people. I've shown it to a lot of people. It's a film that I've always loved since the when I first saw it. I've seen it a lot, and I think it's personally, I think it's an essential film in terms of just, like, if you're gonna watch a romance or something. I think that for, like, a modern romance, it's, uh it's an essential film to watch. I don't think it's too hard to digest. I think the quirkiness in it is just enough for people to be amused enough by. I think Adam Sandler's performance in it is an essential performance to view of his. And I mean, it's Paul Thomas Anderson, who was one of my favorite. I mean, I still love him. He's not my favorite director anymore, I don't think, but he was my favorite director for a really long time, and I think it's one of his best films. Yeah.
if someone came to me and if someone came to me and they said like recommend me a film, a romance film, this
Yeah.
would now at this point in my life be a recommendation that I would make.
Yeah.
Before I didn't even know about this film, so it wouldn't have been before. But now that I know of this film, if someone came to me and said recommend a romance film to me, those specific words, those exact words, I would say, "Oh, Punch Drunk Love is a great one." You know.
Like, would you say it's a good date night movie?
Okay,
Honestly.
so to answer that question,
Yeah.
in from my perspective,
Yes.
just because of those first 10 to 15 minutes with those noises, and because I don't feel like this movie
Depict
depicts depicts
exhibits, depict
depicts me as a person, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that this person shows my personality. This movie shows my personality. Like,
Mhm.
if I'm going to sit down with someone and watch a movie, even if it's just a date night movie, I want them to watch I want to show someone something that is like, oh, this is the type of thing I'm into.
Oh,
I don't think
okay,
I would
yeah.
sit down and watch Punch Drunk Love with them for those two
Okay.
reasons. One,
I
I
get
don't
that,
think
yeah,
it shows my personality, and two, just those first 10 to 15 minutes, I'd be
yeah.
sitting there thinking, does this person hate this film? Because I know that I wasn't crazy in love with it during these 10 to 15 minutes because of these noises.
You don't wanna have to relive the anxiety, like, twice over of, like, "Well, now is this person anxious that we're watching this in this
Yeah,
part? 'Cause me anxious too."
but if
I'm
someone
gonna
just came
you
to
know
me and said, "Tell me a romance film to go watch,"
Yeah.
and I don't have to be there watching it with them, I'd be like, "Oh, go watch Punch Drunk Love. It's really good. It's got Adam
Okay,
Sandler.
so
He's really good in it. Go watch the film."
I'll ask you this again once we, watch Irreversible, and then there's on Letterboxd, there's a good joke, and I think it's probably other places too, but I see these lists on Letterboxd all the time of, like, date night films, and then it's all the most disturbing, fucked up movies of, like, all time, and
uh,
Irreversible is always on that fucking list, and so, I mean, yeah, this one over that one, but yes, that's fine. I can see where you're coming from.
and I think
Yeah,
that, as always, anybody that's listening to the podcast, I would recommend that you go watch the film. Because if you've sat here and listened to us talk about it, I think you should go. I think you should go experience the film, and then leave comments on what you think of the film, or argue with certain points that we've made, or debate certain points that we've made, or even discuss. Just join in with the discussion. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, because this is our third video now. You're listening to us on our
Mhm.
third video. If you've watched all three and
Right.
you're still not subscribed at this point, click the fucking button. Um, Leave a
Smash that.
comment,
No, I'm not gonna say it.
smash that bell, turn on notifications so that you know when we put out a new video or whatever. And leave a comment.
And
Tell us
vote
if you're
yes.
enjoying these, please, because we're not going to stop. Whether you say yes or no, we're not going to stop. But
That's
just tell
true.
us if you're enjoying it. Tell us if you're having a good time listening to these.
Yeah, we would
Um,
deeply appreciate it.
Danielle,
Yeah.
thank you as
Yes,
always for your
Matt.
time. It's
Oh,
been great. It's
thank
been
you.
great podcasting, reviewing movies with you.
Speaking much longer than we intended to about
Speaking a
films, yes.
lot longer than what we intended to speak about this one specific film, at least.
Yeah,
But still
sorry.
having a great time doing it.
I think so. Yeah.
And I'll see you again when we do Love Exposure, which is very
Okay,
soon.
probably.
And we will see you guys next time as well. Bye bye.
Bye.